Okay, let's go.
Hello there, ChickChatters. We are back with Gypsy Rose, episode 7. And This is the big episode. Yep, this is Brooke.
It is. Hello.
This episode, we're going to start off back in Cutoff. We're hanging out at the, looks like patio area where Christy and Rod like to have their conversations. And Gypsy decides to pull out this message from Ryan. Let's read it.
I almost have it memorized.
Oh, you do? Say it. Go ahead.
I'm going to be honest about this, but I could give two f***s about your alone time with your dad. I want to love on my wife. Ha ha, LOL.
And then she says, baby, don't be selfish. And he says, I'm just teasing. Ha ha. Or am I? I'm not ever going to apologize for wanting my woman, but I will let your dad have his time. I love you, baby, and our bed definitely feels empty without you. Good night. That's the whole rest of the message, because I was able to catch what Rod had on the screen.
I will let your dad have his time. Again, Rod's time is Ryan's time. Ken's time is about to be Ryan's time because they're still married.
It is all Ryan's time. Ken's living on Ryan's time right now. It's borrowed
this
time.
Really hurt Rod's feelings. Gypsy's dad, his face looks genuinely sad. I don't think he's really upset about their marriage not working out so much, but I think he just thought that Ryan was a better guy than this. He asked Gypsy, is this his true colors? And that just made me feel bad because it's one of those moments where you're asking yourself, do I really know this person? I thought I knew that they were this way, and I still wasn't sure if this was going to work out. But now I don't even think they're this way. So I felt bad for Rod.
I had mixed opinions about Gypsy even showing him this text, because normally I would not recommend somebody showing their family messages like this between them and their partners, because once you taint those waters, it's really hard to come back from. Your family has unconditional love for you, but they don't have that for your partner. It's conditional. There's a lot of conditions to it, in fact.
Especially with Gypsy's family and Ryan.
Right. Especially with it being so fresh. And even though they've been married for 2 years at this point, they've really only been married for a couple months, just like Christy said, because long distance and prison, just not being able to actually physically be together is a different feeling than actually being with somebody. So I have mixed feelings about her showing that text. On the other hand, she doesn't have friends right now. So she doesn't have anybody but her family to go to with this, because even if she tries to make a friend right now, how do you know if you're actually making a friend or you're making somebody who's trying to just get attention, or, you don't know people.
And this is pretty intimate information that she's sharing. You shouldn't just share this with anybody. I do wish that she had a friend or somebody outside of her family to share this with, but she doesn't. And what is going on, I think some people, especially in Gypsy's situation, might think, oh, this person just really misses me and they want to see me and they love me so much. But this is coercive, it's manipulative. She's got to go through this whole process every time she leaves the house, and it's exhausting. And so every time she leaves the house now, she's going to ask, is it worth the fight? Is it worth the argument? And that is emotional. That is manipulation. That's how coercion works. So I have mixed feelings about it too, because I mean, whatever happens between Gypsy and Ryan, even though we already know what happens between them, Ryan will never be able to come back from these messages, even if they lived happily ever after. So.
Right. But I think at this point, Gypsy already knew what she wanted to do. She pretty much said as much. She's got a voice in her telling her what she needs to do, and that it's going to be a long, hard road to do that. So I think she is in part showing these kinds of messages to her family to kind of make it more solidified that this is the decision that she's probably going to make. I know at this point she says she wants to work it out, but I mean, even the last episode before this, we see how disconnected this girl is getting more and more by the day. And Ryan could be a great, great guy, but they're just not a match. And I think that that's very apparent. Honestly, for all you Ryan stands out there, you should be happy that she left him, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly.
It's just not a good match.
Their insecurities individually push up on each other. And I agree that they could probably do some therapy and maybe save their marriage, but Gypsy's right. You have to want to do that, and we'll talk more about that later. But Gypsy wants to be free. She doesn't want any possessiveness, control, any of that. She wants to do whatever her little free spirit desires. And Ryan has said he has abandonment issues. So every time Gypsy's out, that's going to touch on Ryan's abandonment stuff. And every time Ryan wants to keep her close, that's going to touch on Gypsy's controlling stuff. So they're just not in the space where they should even be living together right now, let alone married.
Right. And I can see why Ryan also has this feeling of insecurity and also maybe even rejection from Gypsy's family at this point because, well,
Totally.
Christy's already called and mentioned Ken. So now he's got this in his head about Ken. It's really just been this huge snowball of things compiling on each other. Ken is a problem in this relationship, but he is not the only problem. And
Right.
Gypsy is not a saint either in this relationship. It's not just Ryan. I think Gypsy could better communicate with Ryan as well.
Just because we're not spending the whole time trashing Gypsy doesn't mean we think she's perfect. But I do have love for that woman. You're watching her on your TV. So
Yes, so the whole parent conversation was interesting. I thought it was funny when Rod was like, well, he thought Ken was going to be here. We would never do that. And then Christy's like, exactly. And I'm like, Christy, you are the last one. I would expect Ken to be there if she was just at your house, okay?
Totally.
Ken probably comes over when Rod's at work to have coffee and talk about
Ken was probably at the hotel nearby just waiting for Gypsy to say she's ready to get a divorce. And I think it's so funny, though, because Rod was serious. He was shocked. He's like, we would not allow that.
Because Rod wouldn't allow that, I don't think. I think Rod has enough respect for Gypsy's marriage, even though he didn't really agree with it, to let that play out at least. And Christy, exactly. And I'm like, Christy, shut up.
Thank God Christy's married to Rod, because Christy would be just out here wilding out if she wasn't married to Rod. But it seems like even Mia is like, Mom, leave this situation alone.
She's just funny with that because I'm like, Chrissy, you would have been the first one to invite him over. So please don't be sitting here like, exactly.
Christy, you started this. It's going to be your fault.
It is your fault. It's still your fault. Because it really did snowball from there.
Should have turned around and been like, this is your fault.
He should have, and it would have been a full circle moment. I wonder if that happens later in the season.
Oh, you know what happened behind closed doors later on that night. This is your fault.
I don't think that Gypsy and Ryan were really going to last long term. I think the fact of the matter is that they both had an idea of what marriage was going to be like outside beyond bars. And it wasn't like that, I don't think, for either of them. I mean, Ryan was hoping that Gypsy would be all in, ready to settle down and have like a regular life. My husband goes to work. I'm going to make the house. And Gypsy's not content with that because she didn't really live a life before that.
Yeah.
You know, all she knows is the house and being indoors. Indoors. Now she wants to go do things. And Ryan has to work. He's a normal, everyday person. You work your 9 to 5. He's a teacher. So he wanted one thing, and she thought she was getting, I don't know what she thought she was getting, but she thought she was getting some type of security, I think.
It does seem, though, like Ryan does not want Gypsy leaving the house when he's at work, which I think is bizarre. I get that she doesn't have transportation, and maybe that's going to cost him money, but I've heard in almost every episode this thing about her feeling cooped up in the house and are you going to leave today? It's just weird. The girl needs to be able to come and go as she pleases. If she wants to go to the grocery store, who cares if she has to take an Uber? It's a regular human thing to do that she probably love to go do.
And she can use her social media revenue to go get herself a ride.
I know.
So we leave Rod and Christie's, and Gypsy comes home, and she apparently comes home to a huge bouquet of roses. She's in this weird video confessional where I don't know what I thought she was going to tell us. I thought she was going to tell us that someone died. I thought she was going to tell us that her and Ryan were getting divorced right then and there. I don't know what the hell happened, but she was like, there was roses on the counter. And I was like, okay. Well, apparently they made up, but she still doesn't know what she wants to do. She's very conflicted. I don't think she's as conflicted as she's putting it out. I think at this point she knows what she's going to do. But
if roses make you feel that guilty, it's time to go.
It's time to go. Ryan played it off as, I'm just kidding. It's a joke. I'm just kidding. But again, I don't care for joking and kidding about serious issues. I just don't. Especially if it's your wife and you know that she's been through some things and she just wants to spend time with her father that she's probably had minimal time with, especially since she's been out of prison, but probably ever. Just give her the space to make those decisions. I don't like to say Ryan's controlling. I like to say he's just overbearing. I like to say that he's just insecure. But it's that kind of stuff that's going to push her away, just like her dad said, because he needed to give her more room to breathe. I don't think they would still be married today. I mean, I don't know. I just think that they're different people. So,
of course we're different people, baby.
Now Gypsy and Ryan are up and talking about this video she made about Nick go to John, which I think is so interesting. Why was she even making that video?
It sounds like people were calling her out about making videos about living her life, doing her makeup, all of that kind of stuff, and not appreciating or not understanding her crimes. I don't know. It's hard to comment on that stuff. She went to jail. She served her time. I'm not saying that she needs to walk around feeling light as a feather, but does she need to think about her crime and her co-defendant every day? I don't know. That's up to her. I've never been in a position like that. That's just something everyone needs to figure out. It sounds like she feels a good amount of guilt, but I feel like she was trying to explain herself in that video to people. I do think about these people. I do feel guilt and shame, but I also am a human and I'm going to put makeup on and live a life and have experiences. It's just hard because everybody has such differing opinions, and none of my opinions are set in stone, of course, but I do feel like Gypsy spent a long time in prison, and I do feel like she has remorse for what she did. At least says she does. I can't
we don't know for
advise
sure.
what's inside of her brain, but
right. We don't know for sure. But the thing is it's a slippery slope when you're trying to appease people you don't know. When you're trying to explain yourself to people you do not know. These commenters or whatever on the internet, you're never going to appease everybody. You're just not. Even as a person walking around day to day, you're not going to get along with everybody you meet, and you're not going to appease everybody. So to sit there and try to, oh, I feel bad about this, I should did that. Like, there's no reason to do that, really.
People are just going to have more stuff to say about that.
Yeah, and then you're going to have to make another video about that. It's just a slippery slope. You're going to have to keep feeling like you need to explain yourself. And the only person you need to explain yourself to at the end of the day is whatever judgment falls upon us at the end of our life. The only person you really got to have an explanation for is maybe your mom, maybe the judicial system, and God, or whatever you believe in. You don't owe any of us anything.
Right.
A single one of us. I don't know. I think it's crazy how fast people jumped on that, though. They're wearing the same outfit. So he comes in with this video like, I'm going to watch a video right in front of her. And they're laughing about some of this, calling social media a gateway to hell, which kind of can be. And then the next second,
3 hours later,
she's on the phone with her damn PO and telling her, you're going to have your whole life to write a book and do this and do that. And I'm like, that book, I think, is already on its way, Mr. P.O.
I died. He sounded like a whole dad. You got your whole life to act like a maniac. Don't do it under my watch.
He's like, you just gotta wait it out till you're done with this, okay?
He just doesn't want to be responsible for nothing.
He's probably just sick of getting these phone calls. I guess people were saying that she was talking to Nick go to John just because she mentioned his name. I didn't get that vibe at all. But it's crazy. People be like, call her parole officer. It's like, y'all got the time for all this. It's wild.
This woman was, at least from what they showed on there, and I didn't watch the whole video, especially not in real time, but it sounds like she's just talking about her experience and her feelings about the situation. And her co-defendant is involved in that situation. And she feels badly for his involvement, that she influenced him to be in. And that's literally what she said. She didn't say, I wish that man well. She didn't say any of that.
She didn't say, I've been talking to him, or I've heard from him, or I've said this to him. All she said was, I'm not allowed to talk to him, which is fine. I think it's probably fine for both of them. I think it's better that they don't speak anymore for him and her. It's a sticky situation. Her whole crime is a sticky situation, which is why we don't really get too far into it, because y'all got opinions on opinions.
We're just here for fun.
Yeah, we're just here for fun. Some of you guys be forgetting that we're just here for fun, but we're just here for fun. Anyways, Ryan and her get into this argument about the PO. She gets off the phone with him. She's telling him, I'm going to delete my social media.
She already has been wanting to do. She told her dad last episode that that's what she wanted to do. So I don't think she was really shocked by this directive, although it doesn't sound like a directive. But anyways.
She did say she's going to delete it, which Ryan's like, but that's revenue. And then it just sets her off, because to Gypsy, all she cares about is being free. She doesn't care about the revenue or this and that. Now, granted, she's not paying for anything right now, really, other than maybe what's coming off of her social media. Ryan does pay the bills. I'm sure Ryan is the one with the main financial burden. So I do have to give Ryan some slack, because it is probably difficult to be the only one handling all these expenses. And then she wants to throw a puppy at you. And so that is a lot.
And it's also
But
probably a requirement of her parole to have some kind of income come in because she has to pay
yeah,
for all her parole services. She probably has stuff to pay for from when she was in prison. She's probably got legal fees to pay for. Part of any probation and parole is to kind of maintain being an active citizen. And part of me wonders if that's really what Ryan's point was here, but he just fumbled the bag in the delivery
yeah.
aspect. Because he did mention, did you tell him that's your revenue? He wants you to get a job, but she can get a job some other way. I know that that's not
Yeah.
easy for felons to do, but if that's what her PO is telling her to do, then that's what she's going to have to do. There's no option for Gypsy.
And this PO guy sounds like he's over 40. Most men, especially white men in Missouri or Louisiana, over 40, they don't respect social media as a job. You tell that
Right.
man that social media is your job and you're making money off of it, you're gonna be like, well, go on find something else because I ain't working. He's gonna be like, you're gonna need a W-2 for that. Like, I
1099
don't think at the end of the day this is the kind of job that the PO or the prison system or anything means. They want her to lay low more or less and stop being so public. Because honestly, most prisoners, even high profile ones, when they come out of prison, they're not this public. They don't have a reality show. They don't have all this going on. I mean, could you imagine Ted Bundy with a reality show about his life after lockup? It's not normal. It's not a normal situation.
No, none of this is normal.
No, they have this huge fight, and I agree that she wants to delete it. She should be able to delete it. It's her social media. Now she needs to work on getting a different kind of job or income. It's going to be difficult with her being a felon, but I mean, there's some things she can do. Social media probably isn't the way, especially when people are so, it's not like everybody loves her. Everybody hates her right now or is waiting for her to do something wrong so they can report it to her PO. So it's just not a good move to even be on social media for a while, at least until the hype dies down, but it ain't gonna really be dying down, as we know. Ryan did go out and comfort her when she walked off because she's upset. She's like, is there a price on my freedom?
Gypsy retreats.
She retreats and he
porch.
goes to grab her head and comfort her, which sometimes it's nice, but he first came in and he was like, that was such a good video, I can't believe you had to delete it. It's like,
I know. He just switches up so quickly. It's hard for me to even really understand where he's coming from because out there he was like, I think coming from it's revenue, try to tell your PO something. And then he goes out there and he's just like, life is so hard, Gyps, you're doing a great job. I don't know. It's weird. I do think that she appreciated his comfort then. That looked like a nice moment because she really was just freaking out. And he did talk some real sense into her too, because I think she's very terrified that she's going to go back to prison. And when she receives these kinds of directives, she gets almost frantic about having to do this. This was giving me report immediately vibes from day one when she was just crying and hyperventilating. And he made a good point. He didn't show up with handcuffs saying delete your social media. He said it's not in your best interest to do this and you're going to follow his rules regardless of what Ryan says. So calm down. You're not going back to prison.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do.
I do think that Ryan comforting Gypsy was nice. Grabbing of the head kind of threw me off, but it was nice. People do that. But I think that out there he was a lot more comforting. You're doing really great. You just be who you are. That was very encouraging and very supportive. So that was a good point for Ryan. She just hears him say stuff about money. So she's like, we're only focused on the money. She was very worked up. And
she was mad when she said that. I haven't seen her really mad, but you could just tell in her face and her body, she was red. Her face was crazy. And then when she retreated to the porch, she said something else under her breath too. And I was like, ooh, Chip, she was mad.
She was squawking like a straight bird when she was at that counter, and then she went outside to fly away. I swear, this is crazy.
Speaking of birds, Tyler and I had to chase a bird out of our garage today, and it was not easy. And this thing flew into his face, straight to his face. He was up in our athletic area in our garage, like, ah! Just like, are you okay?
Just tell him it's a little Jip Jip. Just leave it.
Little Jip Jip. We should have kept her, named her Jip Jip.
Anyway, so after this little fight, they go on the dinner date from hell. She is wearing apparently a new halter top, and he's being very complimentary. He's trying to have a really good day with her, and I can appreciate that. I can appreciate him trying to make conversation with her in the car, but Gypsy ain't having it. She's checked out. She's very obviously checked out. I started to wonder here if she was kind of talking to Ken.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
She does eventually deny it, but I still don't know if I fully believe that. There's two sides to every story, and I feel like I don't know if it's the production or just the way that we're seeing this play out. I feel like we're getting a good view of both sides because it does seem like Ryan wants to have a good date night and he's trying to make and keep things light, and she's just being a wet blanket. And at the same rate, they get in the car and he says something about her outfit, and then he says something about how she looks tired, and then he says something about how date night should be more fun and she shouldn't be so tired. And then he's like, wow, won't you talk to me? And it's like, this is exhausting. We're not even on the date yet,
Yeah.
and you have asked me several questions. Like, let's listen to the radio. I feel like both ends, it's not working for either one of
No,
them.
it's just not working for them. They're two different people. They get to dinner, and it's just so awkward. It gets brought up to the whole wedding thing, and he says, "Would you marry me again?" And it wasn't like he was proposing to her, but she was like, "Let's just not do this on camera." And I was like, "Jip, that wasn't even that bad of a question to ask on camera from your husband."
I'm the same girl who just got done 2 episodes talking about taking a whole plan B and what happens when you have to take plan B. I mean, all that stuff was out there in a conversation. She's over here. There's just some things you gotta keep private. like a breakup.
I don't know if she said that to get at him for what he was saying then, if that was a snide remark, or if she's really like, we shouldn't be talking about this on camera. But it's like, Jip, you had no problem talking about your whole ex life on camera. You've been very, very open. You can't tell us whether or not you'd want to remarry Ryan when it's pretty apparent you don't.
And I hate that he does this thing where, and he's done this a lot, but he does it a couple times too in this episode, where he answers for her when she doesn't respond, and he answers the worst possible answer. And in this case, he does say, well, so I'm gonna guess that's a no.
I mean, I would have too.
This one is right. This is the worst possible, but it's also the most
It's
accurate.
right. I mean, that's what I would think too. If I was sitting there at dinner with Dean and I said, "Would you remarry me again?" And he said, "Let's just not talk about this. We're in public," or whatever. I'd be like, "What?" I'd be just as confused.
I would remove myself from public and be like, "Would you marry me?"
Let's let these cameras leave for a minute so I can ask you this. And here you go, ChickChatters. We're not always on Gypsy's side. I mean, this is a definite time where Gypsy was like, "What? What, girl? What?"
Anne and I were actually together when we were watching this, and we both just kept looking at each other like, did you see that?
So the waitress has perfect timing and is bringing out this hot ass food. It looked steaming hot. And I don't know if it's the skillet or what, but Gypsy was concerned. This girl,
we were all concerned.
We had to rewatch this because it's so us. Like, she, before she eats it, she was concerned. She wasn't going to burn her mouth. Although she might have wanted to, that would have kept her from talking more.
So true. The way that girl was shoving broccoli and chicken in her mouth that whole date, because Ryan, and he had just the weirdest comments. We haven't gone to the movies yet. What about the beach? An Airbnb. I'm just like, sir, you've got to calm down.
He was like, I just won't take you out. I think it's because he knows Gypsy is feeling really cooped up. She wants to do stuff. But I mean, he can only really do stuff on the weekends. He's a teacher 9 to 5. So these little date nights are nice. Me and Dean don't have to go out and do activities all the time to enjoy each other's company. We could even be doing separate things in the same room, and I'm still enjoying his company.
Parallel.
Yeah, it's great. I think Ryan just feels that pressure of, I gotta do something here because my marriage is starting to feel a little stale, and she's starting to feel really checked out. I mean, guys can sense that kind of stuff too. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan was already sensing it. He's just praying to God it ain't true. But
he's throwing everything out. Tired? Do you want to go to the beach? Is your food hot? What can we, you want me to microwave some French fries?
Put in the microwave.
I feel real bad because he's trying. She's done.
This is the episode I definitely had a lot of moments where I felt bad for Ryan. I don't agree with a lot of the things he's done in this relationship. I don't agree with a lot of things she's done in this relationship. That's why I don't think they're a good match. But I definitely did feel bad for him a lot this episode. I think that this was a very sad man this episode. I laughed out loud when he was like, we always go out to eat and stuff. We gotta do something different. Like, we gotta go to the movies. I'm like, how different is that? Like, you're just sitting in a dark room, not able to talk.
I cackled too because they're at a restaurant right now. He's like, I want to take you out. I'm like, you're out. You're out right now. You're taking her out.
Yeah, he mentions going to New Orleans and, drinking. And he's like, well, I can't go anywhere that there's alcohol being served. Apparently, Ryan didn't really get that. But, he's just trying to throw options out there. I don't think he meant anything by that. I think he's just trying to throw out any option that'll stick at this point.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
shit,
came up with 6 other things after that. He was
I'll take you to
unfazed.
pottery class. I'll take you to Zumba. I'll take you to the beach. I'll take you to Mexico. He's
Right.
going to do some stuff to try to save this marriage. They leave the restaurant. And we get this night drive scene of them. And he's just kind of like picking at her, like you said, he's like, you're very talkative. Do you not like eating in public? And she's like, oh, no, it's not about eating in public. And he's like, well, is it being on a date with me? These are valid questions. I will say, I don't appreciate how vague Gypsy was being, and because he's asking her direct questions and she's not really giving direct answers. He's asking her what's wrong, what he could be doing. Yeah. It's like, are you happy? And that's the first thing we actually get out of her mouth.
The first thing she can muster. I will say, maybe it's hard for her to have these kind of confrontations, obviously, in such intense relationships like she had with her mom and she is kind of having with Ryan. It's probably hard for her to find a way to healthy navigate herself out. She's just checked out.
Well past checkout. She's out the hotel in the next hotel checked out.
She's all the way cut off.
She can cut off hotel. Receptionist Ken is waiting on her now. She's in a whole different hotel checked out. He had to pull off to have this conversation because I did not want him driving, having this conversation, and I know what's going on. So I'm glad he pulled off. But she goes, are you happy? He goes, yes, I'm happy. Why don't you think I'm happy?
He was so mad.
And then she's like, aren't you happy? And she's like, maybe I'm not. It's like, girl, just come out with it. Just say, this is how I'm feeling. This is why I'm feeling this way. Because then he's like, okay, well, why aren't you happy? What's happened in the last day or something? Was it dinner? Was it that? Like, he's trying to get an answer out of her. And she's just like, I just think we're two different people. Girl, give him an answer. Give him examples. Give the guy something. I was frustrated with her a little bit with that.
Right.
I don't blame her for wanting to end her marriage. Everybody's entitled to that. If you want to be with somebody, you do not have to be with somebody. But when the person is asking you for answers, you should give them the answers. Didn't you just go 7 years or 4 years without having an answer from Ken? I mean, come on.
It's true. I wish that she would be able to give some more responses, and maybe later on she will be able to. She's about to take some space after this, so hopefully she'll be able to figure it out and communicate a little better. He did offer to potentially go to counseling and talk about that, and she's just not willing to do that. And you really do have to be willing to go to counseling. Therapists are not magicians. They can't just make two people want to do the work of therapy, because that's hard work. So
right. Gypsy does not had a real actual functioning relationship in regular life. Prison don't count. It's different when you're long distance and when you're behind bar and all that stuff.
It's not a functioning relationship. Even long distance is functioning because in some way you both can visit. No prison marriage is a functional marriage. It's just one person holding space outside, waiting for the person inside.
I don't think she understands the amount of perseverance and the amount of work it takes to be in a marriage, because being in a marriage is a totally different thing than just dating somebody. It's a different thing than just living with somebody. Your life does change more when you are married compared to when you are dating. When things go wrong, you can't just up and leave.
Right. With marriages, I don't think Gypsy, when she said her vows, I don't think she was ready to be in a bad position and consider staying in it. And that's loud, because she has been in a lot of bad positions that she couldn't get out of. But that's the thing, is she just shouldn't have been married, but she didn't know herself.
I think she was looking for security and she was looking for something or other. But the thing is, if you got to call another man before you marry somebody to hope that they tell you to wait, that's not a good look. It's not a good way to start a marriage. That marriage was doomed from the start. And Ryan should have figured as much. If they have this open door policy and he knows how in and out Ken has been. And she said, we've been going through this cycle for 3 years. Whenever I get a little bit of freedom, 3 years, you were in prison for the last 3 years. What are you talking about?
And like, that's even more of a red flag too, because if you're in prison and you have quote unquote freedom from your man, meaning what, you don't call him maybe more than once a day, then you're still locked in a cell. So if your man is mad at you for the freedom you have locked in a cell, you should not be marrying him.
Well, it makes me wonder though, was it that or was it because Gypsy's version of freedom is talking to whoever she wants? There's many sides to that.
Gypsy did women in prison, so I'm sure that that's what freedom meant. I don't know. I know Gypsy was probably just in that jail like, well, I'm just gonna take my space and my time. And then 2 weeks later, she probably ended up with some like weird prison girlfriend or something. I get why Ryan is probably
Insecure.
cautious.
She even gets why he's insecure. She's like, I get it. He's insecure. I get it. I get it. But you know what? I think we all can agree. I think even collectively, ChickChatters, all of us, that she should never have gotten married in prison. I think we all know that that was something that if she truly wanted to do that, if they both truly wanted that, they could have waited until she got out of prison, lived together for a little bit. Sure, you ain't no harm in that. But this man's got a neon Gypsy and Ryan sign just chilling there. And even if he takes it down, he's going to still see it there.
I feel like the night they got married, he took that sign somewhere and celebrated.
Oh, I bet that sign was in the car. He was probably hoping he could bring it in the prison. And they were like, you can't bring your neon sign in the prison. So they have this emotional conversation in the car. He's really trying to get her to want to work on this marriage. For a while, she had been saying, I want this to work. I want this to work. But what have you both been doing to make this work? It does take a lot of work at a marriage. You're not supposed to run away at every big argument, every big fight. There will be times where you're like, I want to leave this person. But then you come out of that. People got to start taking marriage more seriously. It's a lot more serious than just, we're just going to get married for the security and this and that because we love each other and everything.
That is part of the security of marriage is
right.
Sometimes you're mad and you're just going to have to stay here when you're mad.
Well, Gypsy don't want to. She says she ain't got it in her anymore.
I also don't blame her. It's just not her time to be married.
It's not. Ryan hops out the car and he has a moment with production where he says, this has not ever been my decision, whatever. And it's like, if you're in a relationship like that where nothing is your decision, it's not a good relationship. It's a 50-50 partnership. I don't know. I felt bad for him. I felt bad for her in a way because it would suck being stuck with somebody and knowing deep down you really don't want to be with them. You probably made a mistake. How do I go from here? How am I supposed to get out of this as unscathed as possible? We'll see. She didn't come out of it that graceful, but she definitely came out of it.
Did you see she was smoking a cig in the car?
She was smoking a cig and he was hitting his vape. So that whole car was filled with smoke. So we go over to Cutoff, where Gypsy has now been spending time with her family. She said she was taking 2 weeks. I doubt she took the whole 2 weeks before she decided that she was leaving, but she wanted to take some time to clear her head because she's known for making rash decisions. Ryan called her out on it as well. We all know she does. I don't make rash decisions. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Stop. We know
Tyler was in the room during that scene and he cackled. He don't even know Gypsy.
When Dean heard that scene, he was like, she's the queen of rash decisions, isn't she?
I mean, let's acknowledge her crime. That is not a well thought out decision.
The way they even handled that crime by having the damn murder weapon mailed to him, none of that was really well thought out. It was a little bit thought out, but not well.
Thought out, but not well thought out.
Not well. And then, everything after that. She got married. Now she's pregnant. Everything's just been like this. Mm-hmm.
Like Sloan said, Cat has 9 lives, Gypsy has 10. That's going to go on a plaque with Sloan's name.
That is the actual best quote I've ever heard about Gypsy Rose from Sloan. So if y'all haven't checked that video out by Sloan, you should.
It was so good. Tell him ChickChat sent you.
Yeah, let him know about ChickChat. Without he cares. So she's talking with Chrissy and Mia about where she's at mentally. She hadn't decided whether or not she's gonna divorce him, but I'm like, yes, you have. You moved into the spare bedroom and then you left. So you're just really plotting.
She lived in the spare bedroom for a whole single day before she realized she couldn't even live there.
If you want to sleep in the spare bedroom or whatever, but there's no point really moving all your stuff in there because you're in the same house. If your stuff's here, your stuff's there.
Gypsy just be sitting in the house all day long. She probably didn't have anything better to do than make herself her own little bedroom.
Probably. According to Ryan, they made up after that thing, but she did want to take time for herself, whatever. I don't know if they actually made up. I don't know. But she's talking with Christy and stuff, and she's ominously hinting at leaving Ryan, but saying that she hasn't made that decision yet. But then the very next scene, we see her and Chrissy heading up to wherever the hell they're at. Charleston? Oh, Charles. Someplace in Louisiana to go get Gypsy's stuff. And this scene was chaotic. It was sad. It was so many things. There's just so much going on in this scene. They come in and they start packing up. And it looks like they did this while Ryan was at work. because that's what most people do when they're trying to hurry up and leave a situation without actually dealing with it. A lot of times this is what real victims do. I don't think Gypsy's like a victim, but a lot of domestic violence victims, this is kind of what they have to do. I think she didn't have to do it this way, but she did do it this way. Chrissy was along for that ride, and she was happy about it.
She said a prayer and everything.
Yeah, she was all good to go. The saddest thing is, as while they're packing, you see little Pixie running around, and Chrissy even had to acknowledge, like, you gonna make me cry, Pixie? And it's like, then take the dog with you.
I don't know if Gypsy's the best person to have this dog when her life's going to be a little unstable for a while, but the whole thing was heartbreaking. There's no right thing to do, I guess. But yeah, I felt the same way. It just stopped the voice in my head that was like, just take the dog. Just
take her with
look at
you.
it loving on you. Take the dog.
I know that dog was so excited for her to come home, and then they just put it in the little thing and
Crazy.
leave her there. She wasn't in there when they got there. The little Pixie, who knows how long she sat in that thing trying to get out, and she's sad that her mom left her, took all her stuff. This poor little baby dog who did not have to be here in the middle of this mess. That is all on Gypsy. But she was the one really pushing for this dog against Ryan's wishes, but she decides to get this dog. I've left a dog before. When I was with my ex, we both had dogs. I had gotten Django. But there was a point when Django was about a month old where his nipping was a lot. He was too smart. If I disciplined him a way he didn't like, he would do something to me. One day I disciplined him and he peed on a blanket and stared at me in the face, knowing it was my blanket. So I was like, this dog is the devil. I don't know what to do about him. I was having a meltdown. I got out of work the next day, and this man showed up to my work with a second puppy, thinking that was going to be the fixer. The weird thing is that it was. Django was like a whole different dog after that. But me and my ex broke up. We each took one dog and we left. And it was hard to leave a dog. It's always hard to leave an animal. So I don't like the huge judgment about her leaving an animal, because it's such a hard thing to do. It's so emotionally destroying if you have to do that. If you have a real conscience and a real love for that animal, it's hard to leave them, especially because you don't know what their life's going to be like when you leave. I do think she has responsibility in the fact that dog was even involved in this whole mess, but that dog might be best with Ryan right now. The dog seems happy, and Ryan probably needs the support.
It's not like Gypsy's leaving this dog on the side of the road. She's leaving this dog with Ryan. He's going to take care of her. It's going to be fine. But it is sad to see her leave. And I just always think about with dogs or any animals, you can't explain to them the situation. I still love you, but I have to leave. It's just like one day you're there and then you're not. And it makes me feel so sad.
One of the saddest scenes in this series is her holding that dog and apologizing to it. It's heartbreaking. And no matter what the situation is, it's definitely hard to leave an animal that you love and care about. As much as I wish she would have took the dog, I also understand why she couldn't or didn't. A side note, a commenter brought it to our attention that while Gypsy was packing and leaving and doing all this, we see a little baby jumper in the back of the closet, and I did notice it, a little baby Yoda jumper. And I don't know if that's something that she was doing because she didn't mind if she got pregnant by Ryan. Sometimes you see something like, oh, that's cute, I'll get it for when I have a baby, or if she was already pregnant. Like, who's to know?
I mean, I guess we'll see when she actually gives birth, but I think she was probably just gathering items. I also have sort of peeped that it seems like certain brands are starting to send Gypsy items. I've seen a lot of boxes stacked up in the back, and he was talking to Ryan about Mia sending free stuff over to certain places and mailing it. So I think there's some brands that are probably sending her stuff. I wonder too if maybe they're sending her baby stuff as well, because I mean, she's gonna have a baby at some point. She's been pretty open about how much she wants to start a family and all of that. But yeah, I was happy that someone pointed it out, because I don't know if I would have actually noticed it if I wasn't looking for it.
That is a weird thing, though, for brands to be sending you before you're actually pregnant, because what if you have problems conceiving and then you're getting these
That's a huge, yeah, that is a huge assumption to make. It seems like Gypsy purchased that, or Ryan, or whatever.
Ryan,
I also noticed they had those Mr. and Miss pillowcases on their beds.
Yeah.
They had one for Pixie the day Pixie arrived too. I think they were planning. They were married.
Regardless, I don't know what that means. I don't know if she took it with her. I don't know if Ryan bought it. Ryan could have easily have bought it when he was doing all that weird stuff with her and she was having to take plan B. Maybe he was buying her baby jumper. I don't know. It seemed like they did not mind if they were about to get pregnant or not. So maybe that was a reason we see it. But if she was planning a pregnancy with Ken right now, that she would be openly hanging the jumper. I think that this girl just must have really wanted to be a mom. I don't know.
She hasn't seemed opposed to pregnancy for a moment, except for when she wanted to get her rhinoplasty. What I really want to know is, does she have this jumper now?
I bet she does, or
And
maybe
will
she
she
has.
put her baby in it?
That's a good question. And, there are times where I'm walking in Marshalls or something and I'll see kids like clothing item and I'm like, oh, that's so damn cute, but I don't have a kid right now. And then I kind of want to buy it, but I'm like, I'm stupid. Why would I do that? I've had those like thoughts myself, but she just might act on them. I don't know.
She's impulsive.
She's very impulsive. Maybe that day where she was like, something happened. She bought the Plan B with the jumper because it's either one or the I don't know.
Honestly, you never know with Gypsy. So
You just never know. Good eye, commenter, and thank you for sharing that with us. If any of y'all see stuff like that, definitely let us know. It's fun to watch for that kind of stuff. We enjoy it. It was a good little Easter egg.
I know. I was so excited to look for it, and it turned out you didn't even really have to look for it.
No.
Camera panned right to it. I just wasn't paying any attention the first time.
So Gypsy leaves as Gypsy Rose, Gypsy goes. So
good one, Miss Ann.
I know. I've been waiting to say that all morning. Came up with it this morning. So as Gypsy Rose, Gypsy goes, and she is on her way. Christy stole that girl, took her right back to cut off. And that's where they cut us off, and they showed us this preview for the next one.
Yeah, she's going to go stay at her dad's house and Christy's house, and she's going to get a matching tattoo with Ken almost immediately.
Yeah.
It looks like we maybe might see Ryan's reaction to that. It also looks like Christy and Mia are going to get in a little tiff about Christy's choices, which I think we all would like to see that. Then it sounds like, I don't know if Gypsy is putting this in a voice memo, if she's leaving a voicemail to Ryan. I don't know, but she has her phone really close and she says out loud that she wants to divorce Ryan, and in 6 to 9 months, she will be with Ken. And 6 to 9 months is just a very random, arbitrary even number, unless maybe you plan to be pregnant.
I'm just saying. I don't know. The timeline is so crazy.
6 to 9 months.
Is she already pregnant? Like, it's so specific, and it sounds like you're already with Ken. So why do you have to plan ahead to be with Ken?
A lot of people will say, if you Google online how long a divorce takes if you don't have children or assets, usually 6 to 9 months is kind of the average if you don't have anything to divide out, or you're not going to argue a lot. So maybe she meant in 6 to 9 months I'll be divorced and be with Ken, but it is a weird number.
Yeah.
As far as to wait for the court process, the judge sign off, be finalized by the courts. Like, the courts are just slow. So I feel like that's probably what takes 6 to 9 months.
She's completely done with Ryan, it seems, in this preview. Poor Ryan is kind of having his own breakdown, especially about the tattoos and stuff. I don't blame him. She moved on so fast that it's like, was she talking to Ken? I mean, it's tough. It's tough to go through a divorce in general. And then to see your wife move on so fast.
Well, and she said she's going to take 2 weeks away. And I'm sorry, but if you're taking 2 weeks to process, and in the meantime, you get a matching tattoo with another man, you're divorced, period. You don't need 2 weeks. You don't need 2 days. You're divorced.
She does everything so fast. She messed with her hair. She did her nose job. She got pregnant. And she didn't even let her nose job heal before getting pregnant.
Probably holding her nose. Hopping up and down.
With that bandage on it, I'm sure, because the timeline looks like she got pregnant like a week or two after having the damn surgery. It's not enough recovery time. But I don't know what's going on with this whole thing. Time will tell.
Not Gypsy, not nothing else.
Not Ken, not Gypsy, not Ryan. Time will tell.
And even then, you never know. I mean, every pregnancy is different. You're not going to be able to tell by the size of the baby how long it's been cooking. Just still be making assumptions within weeks. So.
Yeah, I'm going to need to see that paternity test. I'm going to need to see that nose. I'm going to need to see a lot of things.
I need to see the nose.
I need to see the nose. That's for sure. Ken and Gypsy have basically the same nose. As time will tell about Gypsy's pregnancy, time will also tell when we will be back next, which is probably next week. So probably. We'll see you Chick Chatters on the next one. This next episode looks spicy as hell. And I think that was more of like a rest of the season preview, but I'm thinking a lot of this is going to happen in the next episode. I think she's going to meet up with Ken in the next episode. I really do.
I think we'll get that where they like run to each other. Can't wait to see it. I just need to see what's making this girl so damn excited. I think it does happen at Rod's house though, because the boat's in the background and
they would never.
Rod allowed it.
Exactly.
Maybe he's gone too.
I think at this point though, Rod is like, I gave him a 50-50 chance. And now...
Oh, he's done. Ever since he saw that, F your dad's time, he's finished.
And Gypsy says, he's got this thing with my time. Girl, we all know.
We've been knowing.
We've been knowing about Ryan's time and Gypsy's time and all the time. This man could be a grandfather clock at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Bear in the grandfather clock.
And on that note, ChickChatters, we will see you next time.
Another
comment, share, subscribe. We love it when you guys interact with us. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. See you for the next episode of Bear in the Big Blue House. Bye.
Bear in the Big Giant Clock.